Hey guys, April Melvin here, and today we're going to be talking about marriage, specifically the 5 things I believe that we as spouses need to be diligently doing. Tips 4 and 5, guys, are my favorite, and watch to the end when I give my bonus tip. Guys, you do not want to miss this. Now, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to take just a quick sec and ask that you guys please like and subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Thursday and they are all faith-based. So if you are looking for a bold and yet balanced and always biblical look at our modern world, then hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring that bell. Okay, so what are my qualifications to have this video on marriage? Well, first of all, I've been married for 16 years. My husband and I have been together since 2005. Man, that has been a hot second ago. 2005 feels like it should be 5 years ago, not 16. And despite what my mother thinks about him, he is not the perfect man. So while he is a wonderful man, and I am so blessed to have him as my husband, he is not perfect. In all fairness to him, he didn't marry a perfect person either. So we're just 2 imperfect people that have made a commitment and a covenant to one another, and we are trudging through this life together. It has not been perfect. There have been times when it has been really hard, when it has been a really challenge. There have been times, I'm going to be honest, when there was a part of me that wanted to throw in the towel. But guys, marriage is worth fighting for. It is worth working on. So often what I see are people that feel like their marriage is sort of like a crock pot. They can just dump a bunch of stuff in, stick it on the counter, and never look at it till dinner. But the truth is, guys, that we need to be intentional in our marriage. We need to be intentional with our spouses and in how we communicate and how we touch them. I mean, like, everything needs to be intentional because it is right below our relationship with God. It is the most important relationship in our lives. It is the relationship that impacts my life the most. And so I need to be diligent. I need to be a good steward of that relationship and take care of it. And here are 5 things that we have discovered over the 16 years that we have been married that has made a major impact on our marriage. Now, hasn't made it perfect. It hasn't made it seamless, right? There's still rough edges, but these 5 steps, guys, it enables us to weather the storms of life together. The first thing that we need to be doing is we need to be taking care of our thoughts. And guys, this is an incredibly easy step. It is something that you can literally do as soon as you're done watching this video, and it doesn't involve your spouse. What it does involve is taking control of your thoughts, though. You are going to have negative thoughts of your spouse. That is just normal. But when those thoughts come into your brain, you need to take a hold of them and get rid of them. You need to focus on the positive things. Our mind, it is such a powerful tool, and it will allow us to focus on what we choose it to focus on. So if what you're focusing on about your spouse is that, I don't know, some examples. They're never romantic. They never communicate. They never spend time with you. I don't know, right? If you start thinking in those absolutes and all of the things that they're not doing, then suddenly that's what your marriage becomes. Conversely, if you start thinking about all of the wonderful characteristics of your spouse, they're a good father, they're funny, you enjoy spending time with them. Maybe he's got a cute butt, like whatever. If you focus on the positive things, guys, it will make it so much easier for you when you have some sort of a bump in the road to get over it. What happens though is we allow our thoughts to guide us. And so we as humans sometimes naturally drift to the negative. And when we focus so much on the negative, when you get a bump, it's just easier to be like, ugh, I'm done with this human. So do yourself a favor on the front end. Be proactive in this. Start thinking positive thoughts about your spouse. Think of the ways that your spouse is wonderful, fantastic, perfectly suited for you. Write them down, journal it, start being grateful for your spouse. It'll make a huge difference in your thought pattern. Thing 2, be intentional about spending time with them. Now, in our crazy hustle bustle world, what we were able to do 5-10 years ago, spending time with each other, is very different than what we do now. The point isn't what it looks like or that it's going to be the same every single week. You just need to be intentional about it. Maybe it's having somebody watch the kids while you make a Walmart run. I know that doesn't sound super sexy, but guys, listen to me. You need to be intentional about that time. So if all you have is the 2 hours when you are grocery shopping, then do something to make that 2 hours a time where you could spend it with your spouse. My husband's a huge sports fan. Some of the times that I spend with him is just sitting next to him on the couch while he's watching sports. Sometimes I'm watching sports with him. Sometimes I'm working. Sometimes I'm reading, right? The point is that we are together. Spending time with your spouse is so important, but oftentimes, again, because we are not intentional about it, that's the last person that we spend times with. And truly, there are times because of our schedules, I do feel like Johnny and I are just two ships passing in the night. So taking the time at the beginning of our week and planning out some time, whether it's grabbing a lunch together while we're at work or, again, running errands. Sometimes I go with him to pick up, he's a home inspector. I go with him to pick up a radon test on the weekends, like whatever. Just be intentional about it. Find those moments in your week when you can spend 5, 10, 20 minutes, an hour with your spouse, guys. It will make a huge difference. Okay, I'm not sure if this is a step or a tip, but the third thing that you need to be doing for your marriages is communicate. And guys, you need to be doing this proactively. Don't wait until a little bitty problem becomes so big and so overwhelming that the thought of talking to that other person just breaks you out into hives, right? Have those conversations regularly. And a couple of tips to have those conversations, because I know that they're uncomfortable for a lot of us, but the best thing to do before you start communicating is start with the end in mind. What's the end goal in this conversation? Here's a hint. It is not to be right. The end goal is to have a loving, open, authentic, deep relationship with your spouse. So remember that when you're talking to them. Remember that in the tone that you use and the words that you use. Don't use absolutes. Don't say things like you never do X or you always do Y. Those are not productive conversations. And remember to apologize. I don't know why we are so afraid of saying you're sorry. It is such a powerful phrase. And when you genuinely mean it, guys, it makes a huge difference when you're having a conversation. So be slow to anger, be quick to communicate, right? That's why the word says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Be quick to have those conversations. Start with the end in mind. Remember that your end goal is to have a stronger, better marriage on the other side of this conversation, and say you're sorry. Guys, and maybe it's not for the action that you did, but for the perception that that person felt because of the action that you did. We get so caught up in the legality of being right that we miss that even if our actions are correct, they still could have caused harm to the other person, and we should be responsible for that. And an easy way to be responsible is just by saying, man, I am really sorry. I had no idea that when I did that, it made you feel like that. So communicate proactively with your spouse. Don't wait for the problem to become so overwhelming that you can't address it, and always begin your conversations with what your end goal is. Guys, huge difference, promise you. Now, the first three probably didn't shock you guys. You guys can probably find them in almost every single marriage book, but these last two are some of my favorites, and I do believe that we neglect these in the church at our own peril. And the first is flirt with your spouse. I saw the best TikTok the other day, and this woman made a pretty lewd pickup line to her husband, and I was like, chef's kiss, way to go. We need to be flirting with our spouses, guys. And dating, the best part of it was that flirtation. It was the cute texts and the calls and the notes and all of the things that just made your little heart go pitter patter. They don't have to stop when you get married, right? They can still continue. I still send Johnny goofy texts. He sends me goofy texts. Like, in fact, right now it's all TikToks. We're constantly flirting. I know that this might sound gross, but making lewd comments at one another, like, that's all part of it. It is funny. It is lighthearted. He's the only person in this world I can have those conversations with. And it is a good opportunity for us to experience a little bit of levity in our day. So guys, flirt with your spouse. Seriously, start today. Send him a cute GIF, like make it funny. smack their butt with the spatula in the kitchen, like whatever. He's your spouse. You are licensed to do these activities with them. So enjoy them, do them, do not neglect them. It will take 30 seconds of your day, but the impact that it will have on your relationship will last a lifetime. All right, the last and final thing is have sex with your spouse. And guys, in the church, we do not spend enough time talking about this, encouraging the physical relationship between a husband and a wife. We spend a whole lot of time in the church talking about how boyfriends and girlfriends shouldn't enjoy a physical relationship. We don't spend any time talking about the joys of the physical relationship. And if you don't believe that God intended for sex to be joyful between a husband and a wife, you need to go back and read the Songs of Solomon. You need to go check out what Paul says in the Corinthians. Like, we should be engaging in a physical relationship with our spouse regularly, and it should be an enjoyable experience for both. I'm going to have a whole video on this next week, so I am not going to dive too deep in it. But trust me, guys, one of the joys of marriages is that physical relationship. It is so easy to neglect this, though, because it does take a little bit of time, and it certainly takes effort. And then sometimes we, especially as women, I don't know how men feel about it, but sometimes we as women, we just don't feel good enough about ourselves to want to engage in that. So, but truly, guys, sex with your spouse, it is incredibly important. Do not miss this opportunity for that deep connection with the individual that you are choosing to spend the rest of your life with, guys. You neglect this at your own peril. So here's my bonus tip. And I completely, when I made the list, neglected to add this, in part because this is something that Johnny and I have always naturally done. And that is serve together in our local church. Guys, your relationship with your spouse isn't between just you and him. In my case, it is also wife, husband, and God. So it creates a pyramid. A strong marriage is a pyramid. In fact, if you look at the structures, I'm not really great on geometry, but the strongest structure is a triangle because each point is pushing together. So as a husband and wife, as they grow together towards God, it creates that triangle and it makes for a strong marriage. So serving with him in the local church is so important for me. Guys, last night we were working with the youth, and it just does something to my heart to see him ministering to the kingdom to those kids. So it is very, very important to do that, to pray, to read the Bible together. Now, listen to me. I'm not saying you've got to be reading the Bible for half an hour together every single night. Share a verse together. Start small. Start with something little. Do a quick prayer over your dinner. Like, it doesn't have to be huge. Just do something. Serve in a small capacity at your church. Go to church on a regular basis with your spouse. Pray together during church. Like, guys, this is so important. And we get so busy with our lives. We get so distracted with what's going on around us that we miss out on this piece. So be sure that you are engaging, you're utilizing your faith in your marriage, guys. It makes a huge difference. So guys, that's my video on marriage, the 5 things plus the bonus that we should be doing consistently to sow into our marriage. Guys, it's so important to proactively be doing this, to be intentional in how we engage with our spouse. Again, right below God, it is the most important relationship in our lives, and we are neglecting this relationship at our own peril. That's why the divorce rate is obscene in our country. So guys, start today, start doing something little. Just think of something positive about your spouse. Maybe send your spouse a flirtatious text, whatever. But be intentional. Do the things. Work on your marriage, guys. I promise you, the time and effort that you invest in your marriage will make a huge difference, not just in your life, but in the life of your family, in the life of your kids, in the life of your community. So do not neglect this relationship. All right, if you guys thought this video was helpful in any way, give it a like, give it a share. Please let me know in the comment section, guys. And if you want to hang out with me more, check out my Facebook group, Mighty Mamas. There we do daily devotions. We send out funny memes, inspirational quotes. So if you want to clean up your Facebook feed, that is a great group to join. And then guys, come back next week. We are going to be talking about sex. We are going to be diving into this because I really believe that sex is a barometer for marriage, and it is something that we neglect and we don't spend enough time talking about it in the church. So come back next Thursday. You guys will not want to miss it.